Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to my backyard. The sun is just about to crest, and I think it's going to light up all these clouds. I'm kind of predicting that it's going to light up all the clouds here, and I think it's going to look pretty spectacular. In fact, I wonder, maybe I should adjust the camera so we see a little bit more of the cloud view here. Here, we'll do it like this. So, and I'll just stand a little bit closer to the camera here. And, okay, so I got a entrepreneurial question here, and let's see. It comes from Synthesis, and he has a business question about tabletop gaming. Maybe tabletop gaming is just what he's thinking of, but it's not what his actual question is. And it says, so I'm currently going to college and studying the various parts of what make up a business, such as accounting and how economies affect business. And I was wondering if you could answer a couple of questions of mine that have been plaguing me for a while. Plague, you need an inoculation for the plague. Or Z, infections are now in it, and they're such a pain in the ass because some of them you can't cure, and so you just end up running back to the safe zone so you can drop off your shit before you die. Just how it works. Okay, so how does a business owner control the growth of a company that's an online retailer selling an already made product, such as tabletop gaming products along the lines of card games and card game supplies? Well, let me give you an example here. When I started selling game codes the first time, I'm in my second time now because it's a new company that it's not the same company as it was before. And that's a whole nother story of why it's a second company and not the same one, but I'll get into that someday. Our growth was more than 100% a month. And when you're at such a high percentage and you're trying to turn over the cash so fast, it really presents a problem. You run into all kinds of growth problems, scaling problems. And so some of the things that we ran into was that it was that we were unable to keep up with buying enough product. We would run out every day. And we'd run out every day because our operating capital was not enough to meet the demand of all of the sales that wanted to happen. And so we would buy as much product as we could every day. Every day I would spend every dime I had on just product, and then we would get as much as we could, and we'd be sold out by late afternoon and everything. And so we weren't even making it half the day. And this was still with, so we would turn over the money as soon as possible. In fact, we started buying more product twice a day. First thing in the morning we'd buy more product, and then at the last opportunity in the day we'd buy more product. And we'd just keep turning over that money faster and faster and faster, absolutely as fast as we could, trying to get it back into the business so that we could get the sales to happen. So it was kind of a conundrum. There's other things that happen when you start selling so much, and that is so eventually you catch up on the capital that you need. Well, eventually your sales will apex and meaning get to the top and kind of start to flatten out, and that'll be that'll allow you to build your operating capital. Especially when you're reselling a product. So when you're reselling tabletop gaming products, how much do you make on them? Do you make 100% on each one, or do you make 20%? And that's kind of the problem, is that when in like products of like game codes and stuff, the percentage is very, very low. And so you have to sell really high volume to even make any money. And with tabletop gaming, you probably should be able to double your money on each one of them, for the most part, I would think. I don't know. Maybe it's a very competitive area. And so, anyway, we had growth problems. And we ended up figuring out that 35% growth per month was optimal. We were doing, unchecked, it would be in the hundreds of percent per month. And we just couldn't keep up with that. And so some of the problems that we ran into was that we didn't have enough customer service staff to meet the demand of all of these brand new customers. Something that we did back then, we did these extensive checks on customers because there was so much online fraud. And these extensive checks that we did, it was really, it was pretty invasive, and it took probably up to 15 minutes per new customer to do them. And it was just because there was just so much fraud. And so we needed, if we had, let's say it took 10 to 15 minutes to do a new customer approval, it would take, 4 people to do like 4 new customers an hour. And we were having more than 4 an hour. And so it was, we started hiring. And then we quickly realized there's all these other infrastructure problems, like how do you get everybody in one spot? How do you find qualified people? Because the hiring of everybody was very, very difficult to get quality people. I've talked a bit about some of the people that we hired before. I mean, we hired all kinds of people, and one of them happened to be, he was coming to work stoned. Other people were really great. Other people were, I don't know, they were, well, let's just say that they were, maybe came from less savory backgrounds and stuff like that, and we needed to keep quality, but we had a hard time getting enough people in. And so there's a whole scaling thing, infrastructure, how do you get them all hooked together, all on the internet, all in the same offices, and, getting bigger office space. And we scaled up as high as 24 employees before it leveled off for us. And we found that 35% was the best place for us. So then, let's see, you had another question here. And that was just for us. That was an operating capital thing, and it did become a human problem, too, because we couldn't get all of the people that we needed. But let's see here. How would a new small business owner solve customer problems that arise that have never been seen before while trying to meet the needs of the customer's issue so both parties benefit from the transaction and interaction? Here's the deal. The deal is that I think the sun's not doing what I want it to. I think it's showing off the clouds over here, and it should be showing them off behind me, but it's not. But maybe I need to move over here. I don't know. That sun needs to come out because the picture looks a little dark. Yeah, well, you see the moon out there? Is that the moon right up there? Well, it's got a little cloud over it. Anyway, so I had a lot of experiences with customers that were less than satisfactory. And so here's the deal. If the customer feels like they're getting stiffed on a deal or whatnot, they're not going to be happy. And they are going to talk bad about you. And, they're going to tell 10 of their friends about how bad your service is. Whereas if they're really pleased with it, they may tell 1. And so, there's and now we have, this is, I'm thinking back to my computer store. We didn't have online stuff like Yelp and like Google, all the comment things of how, whether or not a company's doing a good job or not. Just think of it back then, it was all word of mouth. Now, what do you do when you want to see whether or not that computer store you're thinking about dealing with, whether or not they have a good reputation. I mean, I did it just the other day. I needed some help with a computer, and so I had to find a local computer repair, and I Googled them, and then I saw all of their stuff on, on Google. There was comments there about how well they were doing or not doing, and their comments were overall very good, and so that's how I chose them. And so even if you're going to take a loss with a customer because it's not the customer needs to get what they need, you need to do that. Now, you can't take huge losses that are going to put you out of business, so that you have to be smart about it. But you can fire customers too if they're real dorks. I've told this story before about the woman who her computer that we were doing. We opened it up, we were upgrading it, and we found a hard drive just laying in the bottom of it. And so we plugged it in, and the hard drive worked. And so we asked her about that. What's with this hard drive that was just laying in the bottom of your computer? Did you want us to plug it in the new upgrade that we're doing for you and everything? She's like, sure, yeah, that'd be great. If it works, great. We didn't know that it worked. So I'm like, okay, well, let's plug it in. So, we plug it in, we give her a computer, she's all fine and dandy and everything. And a week later, she comes back to us and she says that the hard drive failed. And so we're like, well, and we had put a new hard drive in there as well as this old one. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll take a look at it. We identified that it was the second hard drive in there, the one that we found laying in the bottom there. And so we like, okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and pull it out because it doesn't work. And, if you want to buy another hard drive and put it in there, you can. She came unglued. She's like, I paid for you to put that in. This is part of my warranty. You need to replace it. What? We found that hard drive in the bottom of your computer. We're not replacing it. So she totally wigged out and everything, and she knew she was right and we knew she was wrong, but it was like, what can you do? Well, she ended up trying to picket our company, and she was out there with a sign. I had my employees make up signs, and we went out there with our signs, and and as soon as we stepped out the door with the signs, she took off because she wasn't going to deal with that. And our signs were like, woohoo, look at this great computer store. It's awesome. So anyway, she was a real dork, and we needed to I ended up, she was such a pain in the ass, and we did so much work that I gave her computer back to her in pieces and told her to file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and everything. And we won that complaint with the Better Business Bureau. We successfully, disputed back, saying that it wasn't even a warranty situation, and she's off her rocker, and they agreed with us. So, that was cool. But anyway, so there's other instances where, I've just replaced stuff for people because it was just the right thing to do. It was and sometimes you trust a customer, even though something sounds really fishy. If they do a lot of business with you, then you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to trust that it is what they say it is, because they do a lot of business with us, and it is possible. So, but there's other instances. There's other instances where customers say, keep returning products over and over again. Let's say they keep coming into the store and they buy a motherboard or whatever from your computer store, and then they come back a week later and they return it, and they say, well, it just didn't work. Okay, well, here's another one, and then they come back and say, this one doesn't work either. Okay, well, the likelihood of 2 bad motherboards in a row is pretty rare. I suppose it's possible. So you assist them at that point. You're like, okay, can I help you figure out this stuff? And can we, can we go over this to make sure it's working right? How are you setting it up in there and stuff like that? And when it comes to the third one, though, you're like, no. you're doing something to these motherboards to break them. So, can't have that. So anyway, we do have customers even these days with our game code sales that I do turn away, and we call it firing a customer. If a customer is really, really needy, I mean, we go way out of our way as it is. Did you know that we hold hands of people who've never used PayPal before, Google Checkout, or they've never, applied a game code before or whatnot? We'll sit with them on the phone, even on an international call, and walk them through it. And that's the extra mile that we go to. And do we make any money off of that sale? No, we don't. But we hope that they become a good customer and they come back. And because then we'll make money off of the repeated sales. And but we have other people who okay, so they're needy like that, and that's okay. But then every time they buy something, they've got something to complain about, and they spend a whole bunch of our time. I can give you an example that this guy just the other day wrote us paragraphs of stuff about how awful our service is because we don't have a direct merchant account, and we're like, but we don't need a merchant account, not for what we're doing. So we use a merchant account is where I walk up, I have a credit card, I just enter a credit card in, and I make my purchase and I walk out, and it goes straight to a bank. It doesn't use any third party. Well, we use like PayPal and Google Checkout and stuff, and you can do that straight through PayPal and Google Checkout, but you can't. But it's not a true merchant account. But one of the benefits for us is that we don't have to comply with certain laws that would require us for the super duper encryption of all of the information and everything, because we don't have that information on hand, like your credit card numbers, and so that it lowers our cost of operating by using them. And so this guy just kept going on and on and on about it, and we replied to him several times, and I think that he even called in, that Alex may have even talked to him. And the fact is that he's fine now, but if he had taken it any further, we would have just fired him as a customer, because we don't need that kind of abuse. And if somebody is cussing at you all the time and everything, you don't need that. You don't need that kind of abuse. It's just not worth it. So anyway, I think that about answers your question, and maybe even more so. And the sun never made it out to the clouds. I'm so disappointed. We got sunrise over here, and but it's just not a very good morning for a sunrise, I guess. You can see the sun rays next to the houses over here, but just not as good as I had hoped. Oh well. So maybe next time. Okay, guys, I'm Marky Dragon. Take care. Now that you've made it this far, can I interest you in another video? In the upper left, I talk about the future of translation. You remember Star Trek? You remember, of course you remember Star Trek. You know what it is. The communicator badges? I think that those are going to become reality in the next 10 years. We won't have necessarily starships that we're communicating with, but it will do the translations like was shown in the TV series. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's my prediction. I'm talking about it there. So in the upper right, what the fast? This is an older video. Look at that, I have hair. And in that video, I actually show how what the fast works and why it is so good for anyone who is playing like a Twitch-based game that has any lag, or even not a Twitch-based game but you have extreme lag. This can help because it actually makes a more direct route for you to get to the game server, thus reducing lag. And I explain how it works there, and in that video also has a link on how to get it, and they now offer 30 days free trial. So you might want to check that out if you have any lag issues. in the lower right, I have a little War Z action there. It's in the dark. That one is kind of hard to see, but you know what? That is when it's most tense. So if you like War Z stuff, check it out. That'll link to my playlist. And then in the lower left, I get all kinds of people who ask me all kinds of entrepreneurial questions. And that one talks about a teenager who's looking to start out. Does he do school? Does he complete school? Does he start working on a job right away? Does he start with making a new company right away? And I try and go through telling about how I got started and what things I would change and maybe how he can do it better. So, thanks for watching. Enjoy this music on the way out. I'm Marky Dragon. Take care.